What I'd like to do is just give you 4 brief examples, and then I'll ask Ken Zatarain to walk through the whole of it. But to give you 4 brief examples of how we changed our proposals and why. First, on the line 152 Milwaukee, we had suggested to operate rush hour service only due to low ridership. We learned that about half of the riders on this had disabilities and it was their only connection to a nonprofit, CCI Enterprises, that facilitates career and personal development. It is also, Clackamas County Vocational Rehabilitation Office is located off of that line. What it did is it reminded us all of what a vital lifeline transit can be. As a result, we are recommending no changes to the line 152. Next, line 89 out of Washington County, Tanzaborn. We had proposed to cut weekend service, but heard as we were riding that service on weekends, our staff out there riding it, that it was in a number of cases, the riders had their only connection to jobs in that corridor and required on weekend was to be able to have that service for them. So we reduced midday frequency, but we're able to keep the span of service on weekends. It may be not quite as convenient during the middle of the day, but it does give people that ability to get to that job in the morning and get home at night. Next, one dear and near to Board Member Williams is the line 157. And we heard from when we were in Clackamas County, both Board Member Williams as well as Board Member Lehrbach were there. We had originally, 157 service, really, which is Happy Valley, had originally run 6 days a week, all day long. And we heard several things because we had proposed to eliminate this service. One is we heard that from the community who said, listen, with the Green Line opening this September, that connection, we think we're going to have a lot more ridership because it will connect to the Green Line at Clackamas Town Center. Secondly, we heard from Lyft users, families of Lyft users, who said if you eliminate the 157, the boundary of the Lyft service will shrink. When we looked at both of these issues, we concluded that we will, one, on the Lyft service, we would have found a way to address them if we had proposed to eliminate. But in this case, we proposed a 6-month pilot that will run the 157 on 5 days a week, that is Monday through Friday, not Saturday, as it currently is, and would only be during rush hour, but to see if we can in fact make that connection to the Green Line and get ridership up to over 15 rides per hour. Likewise, we're enlarging the loop a bit, and Board Member Williams had been one of the key people saying, can't you enlarge that loop, pick up a little bit more of Happy Valley? We are proposing to be able to do that so that the 157 will still be modified, but it will in fact remain, and we're just going to have to see, can we in fact get that additional ridership to the Green Line? If it's not there, we're going to have to revisit, but in some fashion we would obviously look toward providing the Lyft service even if that were the case. That's not what's being proposed. Lastly, let me mention the line 63, Washington Park. This was testified to at the Portland hearing, but we also heard from the Japanese Garden, from the zoo, from others about how important the line 63 was to connect people to not just the zoo with the MAX station, but to be able to get to other parts of the Japanese Garden, the Rose Garden, and other places. The concern was that we would still be operating what we call our Washington Park shuttle. That operated from Memorial Day to Labor Day, and actually to the last weekend in September. That service has always connected the MAX station to those other locations. But at the Japanese Garden, for those of you who are members, such as I am, there's very limited parking, and yet it is one of the higher attraction sites in the Washington Park complex. And they were very concerned that they have substantial use, not just during those summer months when the Washington Park shuttle would operate on weekends, something we proposed to eliminate on the line 63. But they said, listen, we have people that are coming in May. We have people that are coming all the way through October as well, depending somewhat on the weather. Our proposal is to be able to still make the modification to the 63, but to extend the use of the line 73, that is a shuttle, from the 1st of May on weekends through October, also on weekends. The 63 would run during the week, so consequently it would cover it 7 days a week. We're still willing to work with the Japanese Garden if we find that they have particular special shows or other things that maybe are occurring even earlier or later in the fall, earlier in the spring or later in the fall, if that's necessary. Because we obviously are very concerned about making sure that that is accessible with that limited parking. I might mention that the line 73, that Washington Park shuttle, is every 15 minutes. The line 63, even today, runs only once an hour. So it really provides a much better connection for people when it is running. But that's something that, again, is an issue. With that, I would be happy to answer any questions, but also ask Ken Zatarain to walk through some of the other details just so you know what changes occurred since what we took out to public hearing has been. And then, of course, it's a public hearing here before you.
I just had one question on the Swan Island, line 85, where it says it's going to move to 40-minute service during the midday instead of 20-minute service. How will that affect the swing shift down there? Because there is a large swing shift that goes to the Swan Island.
This would not affect the span of service on the line, but it would still be time to meet the shift times of the major employers. We've been in consultation with the Swan Island Transportation Management Association about this reduction, and they haven't expressed any reservations on it. So I think it's good. Thank you. Just a few more comments on the lines that Fred discussed. Based on the comments at the public hearings and that we received during the comment period, those 5 lines that are recommended for change, I'll just quickly highlight some more of them. Line 31 Estacada, where we propose to operate express trips via Clackamas Town Center, would be modified to operate via Milwaukee Transit Center, and that worked out well with the riders who had the public hearing with concerns about that line, and they're happy with that revision. That will help us better utilize available capacity on those trips than we do at present. Fred discussed the Washington Park service on line 63, where on the weekdays, a previous revision was to retain that service connecting into Max down at PGE Park. We're still continuing to propose to discontinue that service on weekends, but as Fred mentioned, to augment the service in April and October with the Washington Park shuttle. We've been in consultation with the Japanese Gardens and have attendance figures for them. So this will provide service during their months of highest attendance, as Fred said, and also we're able to look at their weekend attendance compared to the week. And by providing that weekend service, we should cover half of their monthly attendance roughly by providing that service. A third line that's being revised, line 89 Tansborn, as Fred mentioned, which runs between the Sunset Transit Center and the Tansborn area of Hillsborough. Many comments on that line about the need for access to work. In addition, several bus operators commented about that, and ride-alongs indicated that there are a number of individuals using that service for work. This would also help mitigate the impact of canceling Sunday service on line 67, which crosses line 89 perpendicularly at Northwest 158th Avenue. Fred also mentioned line 152, which again, based on our onboard writing in consultation with riders, indicated the need to retain that service for basic access for individuals with disabilities. And finally, on line 157, Fred mentioned the demonstration period. This is in addition to a previous change in that area was to retain weekday service on line 156. And back in the fall of 2007, we extended the Sunnyside bus line number 155 farther east to the new Happy Valley City Hall and brought that area into the TriMet district. So we will continue to work with them and monitor the ridership on that line after the green line opens in September and set that ridership performance threshold with them and work to try to achieve it.